action movies. I want you to make some noise for the gentleman, the badass, the awesome Mr. Chuck Norris!
Hello, everybody. First, I want to introduce to my love of my life, my wife, Gina, right here.
Aww.
Thank you for coming. I think my mic just went dead. Yeah, we're back. All right. Do we want to get another? Are you going to hang out on stage, or
I'm stand.
Okay, you want to stand? All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
I'd rather stand.
Well, I think just to kick things off, we were talking a little bit backstage, but you worked with a gentleman by the name of Mr. Bruce Lee, and still, when you travel, I'm sure people, recognize you as, you're the guy that fought Bruce Lee, right? So talk a little bit about that experience just to kick things off.
Well, when I was signing autographs earlier, everyone kept bringing Bruce Lee's name up, and I met Bruce Lee in 1968 when I was fighting for the world title in New York at Madison Square Garden. And Bruce was doing the TV series, The Green Hornet. And so after I won the title, the promoter of the event introduced me to Bruce. And so Bruce and I started talking, and we started talking about our philosophies and our experiences in the martial arts. And we decided to work out together when we got back to Los Angeles. So Bruce and I worked out together for about 2.5 years, and then he left for Hong Kong to pursue his movie career. And I didn't hear from Bruce for like 2 years. And then out of the blue, he calls me up. He says, Chuck, I've done 2 incredible movies, very successful here, and I want to do a movie now with a fight scene that everyone will remember. And I want to do the fight scene in the Colosseum in Rome, and like 2 gladiators, and I want you to be my opponent. So kiddingly, I said, well, Bruce, who wins the fight? He says, I win, I'm the star of this movie. And I said, oh, I see, you want to beat up the world champion, because I still held the world title at that time. He said, no. He said, I want to kill the world champion, which he did.
Well, I'm a fan of Bruce Lee, but I have to say I was a fan of Chuck Norris first, and Chuck Norris was a part of my childhood. I mentioned in the opening the Karate Commando cartoon, which I happen to love, had the action figure, and you appeared on many pieces of merchandise and things out there. What do you think was the craziest item that your face, that your name was on? I mean, was it an action figure? Was it something else, a lunchbox?
Golly, I don't know, huh? Oh, the bobblehead. Yeah, the bobblehead on my head doing this. I think that was kind of the craziest one.
Yeah. Do you keep any of that stuff around still? Is there a room of like all the Chuck Norris merchandise?
Oh yeah, my wife, she built me a museum. She says, you got 50 years of stuff accumulated. He says, we need to make a museum. And I said, oh, okay. Me, I procrastinate. Well, she said, I'm going to do it. So she did. She built me a museum. We have a ranch in Texas. And so we have the museum there. And so the bobbleheads in the museum.
Gina, is that your favorite as well, the bobblehead? What's yours?
I don't know. I kind of like the real guy.
No, that's pretty good. Yeah. Well, out of all of the movies that you did, what do you think is the one that you look back on now and still really love kind of watching? Like maybe you're flipping through the channel and you see it on, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna watch this one a little bit.
Oh, golly, each one has its own uniqueness. Probably Sidekicks is one of my favorites. Because, the thing is, it dealt with a young child, a young boy, who was having a lot of difficulties in life. And my character helps him come along and overcome those. And, that is kind of what being a martial art teacher for 15 years, You know, that's what I did. I worked with thousands and thousands of young people, again, trying to get them to overcome a lot of their insecurities. And in fact, when I was teaching, you know, I thought, well, this is great, but these are kids whose parents can afford to bring them to my commercial school. And I thought, what about the millions of young kids whose parents can't afford to pay the tuition in a commercial school? And that was in the back of my mind. And then when I started my movie career, you know, about halfway through my career, I started thinking more about this. So I thought, you know, why don't we start a program in the public school system? You know, PE is just going out and kicking a ball around. Why don't we teach the martial arts in lieu of just doing a PE program and helping these young kids for free? And so anyway, once my celebrity started going, my movie career, I contacted the Board of Education. And I said, what do you think about starting a martial art program in the public school system and using this, the martial arts as a tool to raise these kids' self-esteem? And the director says, Chuck, that will never happen in a public school. So I forgot about it. And about 8 years later, you know, I'd gone on a campaign with senior President Bush, and so I became friends with him, and I was in the White House, we're talking, he says, do you have any ambitions outside of your martial arts and your films? I said, well, now that you mention it, about 8 years ago, I had an idea about starting a martial art program in the public school system, and using the martial arts again to help these young kids get on the right path of life. Because it did me, it turned my whole life around. I started the martial arts in Korea when I was 19 in the military, and it turned my whole life around. I was a non-athletic, people say, y'all, come on, but I was a non-athletic kid and extremely introverted, extremely shy. And the martial arts helped me overcome a lot of these insecurities that I had. So I know that it does work. And so he said, well, why haven't you done that? I said, well, because the Board of Education said they never allow that. He said, well, maybe I can help you out there. So we started one school in Houston, and because that's what he suggested. And so we did start one school with 150 kids where we teach them like a program, class, 30 kids in a class, 5 days a week, and 5 classes a day. And and we taught them 11 months out of the year. We didn't have the summer program. We taught them all through the year. And now, in 24 years, it's grown to 10,000 kids in our program, 56 schools. And my goal, my ultimate goal, is to spread this Kickstart Kids program all over the United States. We've graduated now 90,000 kids over the last 24 years. And we have some incredible success stories. We had one boy, Gerardo Esparza. He was a M13 gang member, MS-13, yeah. And he was getting into a lot of trouble, and they were going to send him to juvenile hall. Well, my instructor at that school said, let me have Gerardo. If you incarcerate him, it's just going to make him worse. So let me have him in our Kickstart Kids program and see what we can do with him. So anyway, we did. Gerardo got into our program, and we said, you know, you cannot belong to a gang. You know, be in our program, your karate friends are your gang. So you cannot associate with your gang members. Well, my instructor kept catching Gerardo with his gang friends, and he kept warning him. Finally, about the fourth time, he calls me up, Mr. Norris, he says, I can't keep Gerardo away from his gang buddies. And he says, I think we're going to have to let him out of the program. I said, well, it was like April, so the school, you know, and I said, well, let's keep it for the summer program. Let's see what happens during the summer. So anyway, during the summer, he breaks off his gang ties, makes friends with the martial art kids, and he had already failed the 6th grade once. And so he finished the 6th grade with a D. He finished the 7th grade with a C, 8th grade with a B, 9th through the 12th, straight A's. He got a full scholarship to MIT. See, so that's what the program does, Eric. You know, it helps these kids realize that they can be anything they want to be, because we instill those positive affirmations every class of what they can achieve in their life. And that's why I'm such a strong advocate of our foundation program.
Well, and you've remained active in charity and really helping people's lives. And the unique position of being celebrity, of having this fame, allows you to reach a lot of people. Was that the moment you first realized, like, okay, I can use this celebrity status to make an impact in the world on other people's lives? Or was that something that was that the first moment you realized that you could do that with your celebrity?
Well, you know, the thing is, you get to a point, you know, where you want to give back. You know, you've been taking, you know, and you're, in the film world and all this stuff here. And at my age, you know, I want to give back. I want to give back, especially with the youth in our country, because they're our future leaders.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we got to give them the strength and the courage to be able to, to be strong, positive leaders in our country. And that's kind of my small contribution.
Well, I can't help but notice there's a gentleman in the audience that is rocking a certain mustache and a look. So he's dressed up as Chuck Norris, but Chuck Norris, who would you have dressed up as to go see at a convention and get an autograph? Like, who was the person that you would have geeked out over, that you were a big fan of?
John Wayne. Well, you know, I grew up, as with just a mom. My dad was an alcoholic, was never home, and so my mom had to carry the load of father and mother, and it was tough, and I think that's the reason why I had a lot of insecurities in my life, because I didn't have a father image to give me the tools to help, and so John Wayne became like a surrogate father to me, because my dad looked a lot like John Wayne. Anyway, he had black hair and all this stuff here, and so John Wayne became like my surrogate father growing up, and because he was a positive role model on the film world, and that's what I try to do in my films. If you've seen any of my movies, I've tried to maintain a strong, positive role model in my films. When I did Walker, Texas Ranger, CBS wanted me to have a real risque relationship with Alex. I said, look guys, I didn't do that in my movies, and I'm not going to do it on television. I want to make Walker, Texas Ranger a series with enough action that the dads will enjoy it, but not to the point where the kids cannot watch it. And I don't want to have any sexual content in there that would also affect the children. So I said, that's the only way I'll do it, and if you don't agree, then we'll have to call it quits. But they agreed, and the thing is, the show went for 8.5 years, and they wanted 2 more years. But my wife was pregnant with our 15-year-old twins, and so I said it's time to call it quits with the show, and that's why I did.
Well, certainly give it up for Walker. I'm curious because we have a lot of fans out there. Do you think that wholesome approach, action-packed but wholesome approach to Walker, does that give it a legacy now? Does that allow it to survive even to this day?
Well, interesting, because I stopped the show in 2001, and the show is still running 16 years later. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good, mm-hmm. And it's running all over the world, and I just told that we have 1 billion viewers watching Walker currently, mm-hmm. all over the world. So that's so it shows that a show like that has a positive content and in action, of course, that it's a kind of a show that people want to watch.
Yeah. Is that the character you are most fond of?
Yeah. The thing is, that is my character. When I did my first movie, Good Guys Wear Black, Steve McQueen was one of my students. Mm-hmm. And he's the one that encouraged me to pursue an acting career. When he said, after when I retired as the world champion, I was teaching Steve McQueen, and he says, well, what are you going to do now that you're no longer fighting? I said, probably just continue teaching He says, have you ever thought about being an actor? Well, I start laughing. I said, Steve, I've never even done a high school play. You know, I said, well, what makes you think I could be an actor, you know? He said, well, I don't know. He says, only the camera can tell. But I thought about it, and then I finally decided to pursue it. And 5 years later, I finally got a part in a movie. But the thing is that, you know, I don't know. It just,
Yeah.
huh? But Steve gave me good advice, and I thank him for that. And you know, like Bruce, Steve died at a pretty young age. He died at 52. Bruce died at 32, and you know, it was really sad that they had to die at such a young age.
Well, you obviously you mentioned Bruce Lee, Steve McQueen. I know you worked with Dean Martin.
Yeah.
When you look back at that time when you were first coming up, you know, first kind of making your bones as an actor, do you look back and say, man, that was a wild time. That was such a crazy time to be alive.
It was. See, because I did the movie with Dean Martin in 1968. You know, called The Wrecking Crew. Actually, Bruce Lee got me the part. Bruce Lee was the fight choreographer on The Wrecking Crew movie. So Bruce says, I'd like for you to do a fight scene with Dean Martin in the movie. Well, I was fighting for the world title the night before. And so, when the fight, I got hit in the eye, my eye swelled up, black, and so anyway, when I go on the set, my eye is black as can be. They spent 3 hours trying to cover up my injury. And so anyway, I'm gonna do the fight scene with Bruce Lee. And so, I mean, not with Bruce Lee, with Dean Martin, rather, I'm sorry, with Dean Martin. So anyway, we're going through the thing, so I'm gonna have to throw a heel kick over Dean Martin's head. So I said, well, okay, how far are you gonna go down? He said, I'm gonna go down this low. I said, okay, so I'm measuring where the kick should go, right over his head. So we're doing the fight scene. I throw the spinning heel kick, he goes here. Hardly bends down. I hit him in the shoulder, and he goes flying across the room. And the producer almost has a heart attack, the director, and I go, I'm sorry. He says, no, that's okay. So anyway, we have to do the scene again. So I said, I don't care if he doesn't bend down at all. My foot's going over his head. And so anyway, I throw the kick over his head while he drops all the way down to the floor. So there's about a gap that big between our kick, but we finally worked it all out.
Did you teach him any moves? Did he pick up anything?
No. I think he just wanted to get through the fight scene. Yeah. I don't think he wanted to do anything else.
Well, did he teach you any songs? Did he sing at all?
No, not on the show. Not on the show. But it was, you know, thing is, I had no intention of being an actor.
Yeah.
This is 1968. I'm still fighting, and I had no intention of being an actor at that stage of the game. Huh? Oh, my wife said I have sang. I sang the theme song to Walker, Texas Ranger. You know, and how I did that is a fellow from Oklahoma sent me the lyrics to Eyes of a Ranger. And I'm reading the lyrics, I said, this is what the show's really all about. I said, this is great. So I send it to CBS. I said, this is what I'd like to be for my theme song, and I'd like Randy Travis to sing it. So anyway, they called back, they said, well, we like the lyrics, but we want you to sing it. I said, look guys, I'm not a singer, but all actors want to sing and all singers want to act. So I said, well, I'll go to LA, I'll go to the recording booth, I'll sing it, and they'll see how bad it is. They say, you're right, let's use Randy Travis. But a recording studio can work miracles. And so anyway, I start singing this song. Well, if you've ever heard the song, I do a Johnny Cash thing. I kind of talk part of the lyrics through the movie, through the song there, because I couldn't get the song out. So I just kind of did a Johnny Cash talking thing, and anyway, it wound up winning an award. Can you believe that? Wound up winning an award.
Well, no joke. I was walking through the show floor earlier today, and somebody's ringtone was the Walker theme song.
Was it
So
really?
it is out there. I don't know. They're probably in here or something, but yeah. So it still exists out there.
Yeah.
So that's well, you know, it's funny because when you're a fighter and you're doing your fight choreography, that's what you're focusing on.
Yeah.
Then when you're an actor, it's learning the lines and hitting your mark, and then doing the fight choreography.
Yeah.
But then there's this other element of being a celebrity where you have to do talk shows and you have to do publicity and interviews. Was that difficult for you to kind of enter the spotlight in that way and suddenly talk to everybody all the time?
No, it got easier. Experience is what it's all about. You know, like I said, when I got my black belt in the martial arts in Korea, and I came back to the States, I was still stationed I stationed at March Air Force Base in Riverside, California. And anyway, this is 1961, so no one knew what the martial arts was all about. And so anyway, I'm out there practicing my martial arts, and all the guys around there said, "Hey, what is that?" And I explained it to them. They said, "Teach us. Why don't you teach us?" So I thought, maybe I'll start a club here on the base. So so I decided to give a demonstration. I thought, oh man, I've never talked to a group of people before. I'm 21 years old, and I've never gotten in front of a group of people like this here and ever talk. So I thought, okay, I'll write out about a half-page speech, you know, to talk to them about. So anyway, I put out pamphlets. So anyway, now this is 1961, and I can still remember this vividly. I walk into the gym, and there's like 400 people in the gym. And the microphone's on the floor. I walk up, I pick up the microphone, and it says, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chuck Norris, and I'd like to welcome you here tonight." That's the last thing I remember. The next thing I remember, I'm walking out on the floor to do my demonstration. And I'm thinking, did I finish my speech? Or did I just lay the microphone down? You know? But the key point here, I explain this to a lot of young people when I give talks. It cracked that egg of insecurity that I'd carried around for 21 years. And then I just kept, and I kept doing it until I was able to crack that egg wide open. So that's, it works for anyone. If it can work for me, believe me, it can work for anybody.
Yeah. At that point, what was the moment when you were a younger actor where you started taking a stand on things that they wanted you to do in movies and saying, I'm not going to do that? Because when you need to make a paycheck, sometimes it's hard to push back on those things.
Well, it's interesting. I have to tell you, when I did my first movie, my really first big film was Good Guys Wear Black. And so I do the movie. The critic says, Chuck Norris is the worst actor since the silent era. And, it hurts my feelings. So I go to Steve, I said, Steve, the critics are killing me. They're crucifying me. He's, Chuck, don't worry about it. You be a people's actor. Because if the people come and see you, you're going to keep working. If the critics say you're the greatest thing ever as an actor, and you make $2.40, he says you're not going to work. So be a people's actor. So that's really what I was about. I ignored the critics from that point on, and I decided, if the people enjoy my movies, then I'll continue doing them. So that's really what it's all about. Well, yeah, my wife's saying, when success begets success. It's like Walker. Once I started doing the Walker and the show was successful, then the producer said, just go for it. In fact, my wife wanted me to do a faith-based episode of Walker, and so I called CBS and I said, can I do a faith-based episode of Walker? They said, no, we got touched by an angel. We don't need any more of that religious stuff. And I said, well, let me do one. And if it's not one of the biggest shows of the year in Walker, I won't ask you anymore. So I did a movie, an episode called The Neighborhood, about a little African-American girl who lives in the ghetto, and she's walking home after school one day. She is caught up in a gang war and gets shot. And she's in the hospital, So my character, Walker, goes in the hospital, and they said, well, she's not going to make it. She's bleeding internally, and she's not going to make it. And then all of a sudden, miraculously, she's healed. And so she says, you know, I was on my way to heaven, and an angel stopped me and said, it's not your time. Your job is to clean up your neighborhood. So the whole story is her going and clean up the graffiti in her neighborhood, and in the end, she has the revival, and the two gangs come together, and anyway, it becomes the top show of the year. So CBS said, well, if you want to do any more of those, go ahead, you know?
Have you ever thought about right now, if you tried to pitch Walker, if it could get made, like if you took it to a network, do you think you would have difficulty getting Walker made right now?
I don't know, to be truthful.
How many people want to
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know, at the stage of the game in my life, I'm 77 years old. And, you know, I really enjoy my life. You know, it just gives me an opportunity to come to like Comic-Con, you know, which I have never done before in my life, you know. So it gives me an opportunity to meet people, and because I enjoy that. I do actually enjoy meeting people I hadn't met before. So, you know, it's which I wouldn't be able to do. When you do a series, your life is dedicated to that series. I mean, it's non-stop forever. And I don't know if the stage of the game that I'd really want to do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm leading up to. Is like, okay, just play with me for a minute. Let's imagine it. Walker, what is he up to now? Does he have like a son or daughter who is now a ranger? What's he up to right now, if you were to say?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you know, I truthfully, I like doing commercials because it's only for a few days.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I did this United Healthcare commercial. If any of you saw that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that was fun. You know, that was fun to do. And I just did a commercial in Slovenia, a Fiat commercial. And that was fun to do, because you know, because it deals by a lot of the Chuck Norris facts.
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny. About 11 years ago, a college student from Brown University sends me 3 of these Chuck Norris facts. So we read them, and I go, these are pretty funny, you know. And the first one I read is that they wanted to put Chuck Norris on Mount Rushmore, but the granite wasn't tough enough for his beard. So I said, you know, that's pretty funny, honey. And then when I did Expendables 2, you know, I'm on the set with Sly Stallone. He says, these Chuck Norris facts are everywhere. I said, yeah, I know. He said, well, let's add one to a scene. So Gina comes up and says, I have the perfect one for you. So anyway, I'm doing this scene with Sly, dialogue scene. And this is a few hours later, so I'd forgotten that we were going to add a fact into the scene. He says, I heard you got bit by a king cobra. I said, yeah, I did. After 5 days of agonizing pain, the cobra died.
Is that one your favorite, or is it Mount Rushmore your favorite, or is there another one that you particularly like?
The one I just heard.
Yeah.
Is I ran the marathon backwards because I wanted to see what second place looked like. I mean, you know, I went to Iraq. I did 2 trips to Iraq in 2006 and 2007. And anyway, I got a call from the commandant in Iraq. And he says, you know, Chuck, the troops are driving me crazy. They're into these Chuck Norris facts, and they want you over here. And I said, look, I wouldn't mind going, but I don't want to do a typical USO tour where I stand on the stage and just, like I'm doing now, and just waving. I said, I want to meet the troops. I want to be able to shake their hands and go around to all the bases and camps. They said, we'll make that happen. So I went over in 2006, and I went around to 17 different bases and camps, and I shook hands and took pictures with over 20,000 troops. And then I went over in 2007, did the same thing. I have to tell you, anyway, I have a group of Marines.
Yeah, are there any Marines in here?
Yeah. Anyway, I have a group of Marines.
One over there.
And so a Marine walks up, because all I do, I take the picture with them and shake their hand and all. He comes up and says, "Round kick me in the head." I said, "Man, if I start that, it'll never end." So I said, "I'll do better than that." And I spun him around and I got him in a chokehold. So they took the picture with me, choking him, and then he walked off. Next Marine comes up, "Get me in a chokehold." So now every Marine, I'm getting them in a chokehold. About the 30th Marine, I get him in a chokehold. Well, the cameraman starts changing film. So I got him in a chokehold, and I'm kind of laid my head down on his shoulder, and I choke him unconscious, and he falls to the ground. So now all of his buddies are taking pictures of him unconscious. Finally, I get him revived, and I get him up, and he wobbles off, and I said, "That's it, no more chokeholds, guys." But the kid became famous, you know. He said, because it went all over the Marine Corps that I choked out this Marine, and he became a very famous young man.
Yeah, that sounds like a Chuck Norris fact. Like, getting choked out is the highest form of a compliment by Chuck Norris. Well, you're involved in this mobile app game.
Yeah.
To talk a little bit about it, but also let me know if you have any tips on it. Have you guys downloaded the game, the Chuck Norris game?
It's called Nonstop Chuck Norris, and it's just a fighting game. It just deals with all. Well, I use everything imaginable to fight with. What do you call the? A selfie. Yeah. but anyway, the selfie thing and bats and all the stuff here. So I use all kinds of things to fight with. But it's just an action thing.
It's an endless game, and a portion of the proceeds go to our foundation.
Yeah. Everything I do that makes money. A portion of it, 20% of it, goes to our Kickstart Kids program. So that way it's the way to, because our program is self-funded. So the thing is, we have to keep raising money to keep the program going, and so that's another reason that I do a lot of things that I do.
Well, and we're running out of time, but I can't help but notice you've also got something in your hand right now. This is the C-Force, right? A Force of Nature?
Yeah, well, I write a weekly health and fitness article called C-Force, a syndication. And so anyway, on our ranch, we're drilling wells to irrigate our property. And we hit a artesian well, and the water shoots up like an oil well. Floods, we have 1,000 acres, floods all of our 1,000 acres, and I'm pulling my hair out. I said, "Man, how am I going to stop this water?" Mm-hmm. So anyway, we bring a hydrogeologist out, and I said, "What am I going to do with this water?" He said, "Let me check it out." He tested. He says, "Chuck, this water is 23,000 years old. It's from the last ice age, and it's some of the purest water I have seen all over the country." So my wife says, "I'm starting a water company." So I said, "Oh, okay, if you want to." So this is my wife's water. And so anyway, she said, "I'm going to build a plant across the street from our ranch." I said, "Okay." So I'm thinking 5,000, 6,000 square foot facility, 44,000 square foot facility. I go, "Man, this is a big facility around here, But she uses every square inch of it, and so anyways, so this is my wife's project right here. And again, a portion of the proceeds from the water, again, goes to our foundation.
All right, well, go check out C-Force and download the mobile app game. But also, go see these guys back at the table. They'll be doing signings and photo ops and all that good stuff. Wizard World Philly, thank you for your time. Please give it up.
Thanks, guys.
For Chuck Norris and Jada.
Appreciate it. You guys are great. Thanks a lot.